This is Sherilyn Sunflower, and she can teach you how to make baskets. We're going to teach you on video. You can buy her baskets at Oregon Country Fair. You can buy her Gaia wraps, which we're going to make another video about too. So today, we have a really weird thing we're doing. Of course, we're interested in plant reproduction. In this case, you have done what?
I made a basket.
You made a basket?
Yes.
Because you know how to make baskets.
I do.
It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Look at this thing. It's totally strong. I mean, you could probably stand on this. I'm not sure it's made for that, but
No.
In this case, it's a basket that was made with plants that we have here, and it was an example basket, I guess. You were showing how to make a basket, and we're going to be doing more basket things. Look for those videos. But you made a basket with a whole bunch of different plant materials.
It's a harvest basket.
Harvest basket. What does that mean?
It's just honoring the harvest, and you make sometimes special baskets for special things. You can put them on your altar. This is actually usable, so every time you use this, you're honoring the gifts that the earth has given you by, and you can do, have it somewhere and have the bounty of what, came in with the harvest as well, and share that way.
Right. Now, in this case, we're going to do something really weird. We're actually going to destroy the basket because this is living material. This is still fresh, right?
Yes.
How long ago did you make this?
3 days? No.
3 days ago.
3 or 4 days.
So this is still, it's still green.
Yes.
Now, if we don't do anything, what's going to happen? It's going to dry.
It'll dry and it'll lighten up a lot. You can feel it's really heavy.
It is heavy.
That's the water inside.
It's so heavy.
Uh-huh.
But it will stay strong. Will it tighten up?
It will shrink. So what happens when you make a green basket is it stays loose. So when it dries, you could move these up and down a little bit, not a lot. So if you make a green basket, it's going to have more give to it. If you make a dry basket, meaning you've cut the materials, dried it, soaked it, and then you make it. So when it's fresh, it's thick. When it's dry, it's thin. And when you rehydrate it, it never gets as thick as it was.
This is a basket making decision whether you use fresh things or dried things that you re-soaked.
Right. Being a harvest basket, I wanted to harvest all of the things at the same time. It's not just willow, so I typically don't add other materials often. If I'm making winter baskets, I'll add fruit wood because it's a cool color and adds different textures
to it
and totally, yes.
Wow. That's really complex. How many different plants are in this? Types of plants.
Types of plants?
Or
Four types of plants.
Types of plants. What do you got in this?
So there's figs.
Figs.
And multiple kinds of figs.
4 kinds of figs.
Four kinds of figs.
I think I remember you told me. Yeah.
Yes.
4 kinds of figs.
And 4 kinds of grapes.
4 kinds of grapes.
And kiwi. Hardy kiwi.
Hardy kiwi.
Besides the willow, which is the main basket material I use.
The main thing is willow, and you told me there's 4 kinds of willow.
Yes.
And this is not just willow like you run into on the street. This is special willow.
No, this is special willow. It's called European basket willow. And so it's what, and the French and the English have different techniques that they use, but they've been making baskets for a lot longer than in the United States where I'm from. So most of our basket willow that I have access to is European.
European basket willow, and that's good for making baskets.
Right.
Damn, I'm smart. So this is an awesome basket, but this is a very destructive video and a life-creating video because we're going to destroy the basket. We're going to make cuttings out of these amazing plants and reproduce it. Because if we have a cool plant, we want to make more of that plant in a place to have more value. And this is not just about harvesting things, then it's about planting things. That's totally exciting.
It's a plantable basket.
It's a plantable basket. I've never heard of that. That's totally cool.
And literally, we could put this in the ground a few inches, and it would start growing.
The willows.
All of them. I think all of them. I mean, they would. It's too tight, too much mass, right? It would not snuff out. What's the word? Right? Like what's happening here?
Oh, it would cover things up too much.
Yeah, right. It'd be too much.
Too dense.
Yeah, it's too dense. But you literally could plant this, and it would grow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna put these small pieces of this, and if you don't know this already, you should. That you can cut pieces of plants off, You can put them in the ground. They'll grow if you do it the right way. Now, willows are especially easy.
Especially easy.
Why?
Because they have a rooting hormone naturally. So they grow. You can cut a piece of basket willow and put it somewhere that's dry, and if it's raining, like through the winter, and it'll sprout.
So willows are especially easy.
It's not in the ground, and it's not being watered, and it will sprout.
That's fantastic.
Right? And if you put the willow in water to soak for some reason, like if you just harvested and you want it to live along, you're doing a living thing with it, because you can do live willow sculptures as well. And so if the water that the willow is hanging out in has the root hormone, which you can put on other cuttings that you've planted, so you have a root hormone.
Well,
naturally.
Right now, I reproduce plants, but I buy rooting hormone.
Right, it's probably a powder.
It's a powder, and it says on the thing, like, don't let this stuff touch pregnant women, which makes me worried, because when you say hormones, like, it might change people in weird ways. And so I'm afraid almost of the stuff I use. But if I have more willow, I could use willow.
You can use willow.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I put willow in the water, and then I use the water to grow my other cuttings.
Right, or to water in the beginning of their growth cycle. Right. You don't have to always water with the willow. It's just to get the roots started.
Right.
Yep.
That's fantastic, because I would really rather have a natural solution as opposed to something with a warning label on it.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how long did it take you to make this basket?
There were a lot of breaks. So
Okay.
it's kind of hard to say.
More or less.
Between 3 and 4 hours,
3 and 4 hours.
potentially.
But that's not that bad, because this basket, if it was dried, if we weren't going to destroy it, you could use this basket for years.
Yes, many, many years. And there's, so I didn't put a handle on this basket, but you
Right.
can put a handle. Usually what wears out on the basket first is the handle and the foot. This basket doesn't have a foot on it, but so the foot makes it so it
Like little
raises.
legs?
Yeah, it's like a leg that goes
Okay.
around that, yeah.
And that wears out because it's protecting the rest of the body.
Right, that's what's on the ground. So that could be replaced later. So like Katie has a basket that's, my friend who I learned from her farm about willow, she has a basket that she told me recently that she thinks is like, I want to say 30 years plus, that she's refooted and rehandled, multiple times, but the basket itself is still being used.
Well, I got lots of questions about baskets. I'm going to ask you about baskets in a different video.
Right.
Let's get to destroying this, because
Yes.
destroying things is so fun.
Yes.
How are you going to do this? I mean,
I'm going to go backwards.
you're going to go backwards.
Literally.
What does it mean? Tell me.
So instead of just clipping, clip, 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 I'm going to literally take it apart.
That's a different backwards. All right, what are you going to do? Sorry.
I'm going to actually take it apart instead of, I could clip it apart, but
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what,
What pieces
how we're going to use
plant
it.
and-
Exactly.
Right, how we're going to make cuttings out of this.
Right.
Because cuttings is a whole other topic.
Right.
And we can make new plants with cuttings. What's interesting to note on that is that when you make a cutting of a plant, it was like if you cut off my arm and then you grew a new Brian. Because, more of me would be funnier. In this case, you can actually make clones, so they're genetically the same. This is different than reproducing a plant from seed. If we reproduce it from seed, it's like making a new human or something, and it's not the same as the parents. This is going to be a clone. So we're reproducing the tree. This is so weird. I bet you there's never been a video about unmaking a basket. There's probably a ton about making baskets.
I think you're probably right.
I'm probably right.
So the reason also is because, like, often for willow cuttings, I will do a specific, 12 inches is a good rule for a cutting. 6 underground, 6 above ground, right?
Okay.
You can do 10 below ground. I mean, it just depends on what the plant is. But I don't know when I make it, I don't know the length of all the pieces. So if I do
Right.
it this way, potentially this is long enough to be a cutting.
Right, and we don't know how broken this is. We'll have to
Exactly.
evaluate,
Yes.
kind of. Like
Yes.
this looks really damaged right there,
Right.
but not
Wherever
this would
there's a
probably live.
crimp is a
Right.
potential that below or above that it won't live. And
Right.
yet in between each, they could each be potentially, even though it's not 12 inches, you could have like 3 plants out of that foot,
Right,
right? So let's not
we're gonna-
get rid of any of it.
right. We're gonna make some guesses about like what seems like it will work,
Right.
because we want roots to come out of it, and sometimes the roots grow out of the nodes of a plant, like the little connection things. like if you were to make a cutting of bamboo, for example, the roots and the plants will come out of the nodes. So that's so cool. We could make this video like in reverse, part of it, and you would be making the basket.
Totally, that would be so cool.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So I'm wondering now, to do the rest of it would be a lot easier if I clipped these. I'm thinking because this is where there's a potential for it not to live.
Okay.
I'm going to just cut them all off here.
Okay, cut it. You got it?
And I'm going to keep track of the different kinds that I'm cutting because there's 2 different kinds happening here.
It's a sustainable horror film. We're murdering the plant. But, give me that. This is like, seriously, is this willow? What is this? What is this? Do you know?
It's willow.
This is willow, okay.
And that's
Well, I don't know
wrong
which
kind.
part's what. So this guy right here, we can put in the ground and we could bury it like up to about here maybe, or here. And there are tiny little buds on it, which I referred to as nodes earlier. In this case, I would call them buds. And this guy will probably grow. If some of them die, not important. So we look at percentages. Some plants are easier to grow from cuttings than other plants. So willow's especially easy, but some plants would be really hard. So we'll just learn about that. And you've got so many different plants in here that we got to keep track of these, right? We're going to put them in stacks or something?
Yes.
Okay, cool. You know what you're doing. I'm just here for entertainment. She actually knows what she's doing. She also sharpened these clippers up today, which hasn't been done in
much
14
better.
years probably.
They work now.
Yeah,
Not as good as mine, but they work.
yeah.
So that's the golden willow. It's bright
Golden
yellow. Bright yellow. It's just a beautiful willow.
Right, we talked about this, and you've got various willows. They're all European basket willows, like you said. They don't spread. Are some willows invasive?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't want anything invasive here, but also this particular location is very dry, and so I don't think there's any problems with having willows here. There are willows down at the lake, and I even saw a willow in a nearby town. And so even though it's dry here a lot of the year, I think that most willows will be able to survive fairly well. We have Arctic willow, which is the thin, dark brown one. We
Almost like burgundy.
Yeah,
kind of,
it's a beautiful color.
Yeah.
Golden willow, green Dix willow. You can fill in your own jokes. I'm not going to give them to you. And you got Polish willow. I guess we could make Polish jokes, although I think those have already been made before. So, and I've only met really nice, smart Polish people, so we'll skip the jokes there too. No willow jokes. And then, when do you get down to something else here? Where's the other? Oh, these are the other things?
These are the other things that are coming through,
so
right?
the vertical things are the other things.
Yeah.
That's why most of it's willow.
Right.
Ah, now I understand.
Yeah, because the vertical things are not flexible enough
Not
to
bendable.
do weavers.
So you're
Right?
using these as like kind of structural struts.
Yeah, they're called uprights. But,
Uprights.
But they're only here because the willow is flexible enough to do my top rim. None of these would be flexible enough to do an angle.
Right.
Right,
Now,
without breaking.
normally you wouldn't make baskets with this many types of things, right?
Oh, sure.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, well, so you can do designs with the different colors.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you can, it's amazing the different, it's like another form of art, right?
So if you're a good basket maker, you're really seeing each type of plant as an art material.
Yep.
I never
Yeah.
thought of that. The baskets they make around here are usually made with only one thing.
Right. Right. So like I will make a basket with Polish, but I'll use the golden as, accents
Right.
through the whole thing. Right. And then the Arctic is so tiny, it's more time consuming to make a larger basket. So often that will be an accent as well.
Right.
Right. Because, I would prefer to spend 5 hours making a basket that I'm going to use than, more, like twice as long. And if
Right.
you're using a smaller material, it takes a lot longer to get to the finished product.
Right. And I asked you about this earlier about pine needle baskets. Because we make baskets with pine needles. Pine needles are very thin and small. And I made one pine needle basket. It was this big. And after that, I was like, I'm not making any more baskets because it was too tiny. But I like the idea of making big baskets out of bigger stuff.
And it doesn't have to be a basket. I've made bassinets. I've made, all different kinds of baskets, not just a market basket.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And you can do wattle fencing. You can use all of these techniques to do things not baskets.
Wattle
right?
fencing, like a woven branch fence.
Yeah, and it's flat, and they'll do like panels of them. In the old days, before they had modern fencing, in Europe, they would use wattle fencing. So you'd have like a panel that was like 6, 10, depending on how many feet they're dealing with, and they're movable. So they have feet that go in the ground, right? And you can move them for your livestock.
It's a portable. Biological, like organic fence. Organic fencing.
Yeah. And you could also plant these in the ground and make a permanent live fence and have basket materials every year growing off of it.
A living fence, right.
Yes, yes.
Right. Now here we have planted cedars because I get tired of replacing fence posts. So we use living cedars as fence posts. But I love the idea of having living things create other stuff.
Well, and it's not just the post, it's the entire screen of the fence.
Right. It's
right?
It's not just posts and wire, like I use barbed wire. But yeah, the whole thing. I love the idea. Excellent. So it takes 3 hours to make it, and it takes like no time to destroy it. Because destruction is easy, creation's hard. In general. Depends on what you want to destroy. If you want to destroy civilization, that might be more difficult. But you don't have to, because it's going to destroy itself anyway. That's how cheery I am.
Nice off topic.
Yeah, a little off topic, but I got extra time here.
Right. Yeah, so that's a lot of willow.
That's a huge amount of willow.
Right.
So this willow is going to end up being 50 trees?
It could potentially
It could be 50 trees.
More than 100
Oh,
trees, right? Because
wow.
this could be cut into probably 4 cuttings.
Yeah, I'd probably cut it here. Yeah, probably 4, yeah. 4 is good.
Yeah.
And so you've already got like about 30 on the ground there.
Right.
Yeah, we're looking at like hundreds of trees.
Yeah. So this is green dicks. Will you hold it?
This is green dicks. I'm going to hold my green dick
Yeah,
here.
please hold your green dicks
Yep.
so we can keep them separate. You don't want your dicks.
It's a long
to,
piece there.
You know. There you go.
Exactly the kind of joke I'm not supposed to make.
Yep.
By somebody's rules. Yep.
I'm going to put
Okay.
that somewhere and stick that in the ground so it's separate from the rest.
Okay, great. I got
Excellent.
it. Yep.
I'm really big on keeping track as much as possible because no matter how careful you are in labeling, things get lost.
Yep.
I'm a big labeler.
Right. Well, that's great because we try and be scientific here in the Bosque, but we're not that great at it. We do try and record things with camera. We can take pictures. And the cool thing is that a lot of stuff fails, and so you don't have to remember it that well. And the stuff, it's true. You don't. All you have to remember is it didn't work that way, and you have to try again some other way.
Right.
But we have lots of successes, but I would love to get more scientific always. We need more spreadsheets and more records, and also that's part of sharing it with you.
Right.
Because even when we mess up, even when things don't grow, you can learn and you can say, "Oh, I can do that better."
That's what I don't want to do.
That's what you don't want to do.
Save you time.
Right.
Right.
I want to tell people what we do wrong. That's important.
So you can see that I'm actually doing something different now.
Yeah.
I've come to a different weaving technique.
Okay.
So I'm taking it apart differently. There's actually, let's see, how many uprights? 16 uprights. So there's 16 weavers. I weave 16 at a time. The other weaving I was doing 3 at a time.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
So you're in my safety circle here.
I am in your safety circle, but I'm invincible.
Right.
Almost. I'm invincible until I'm dead. So, no one will ever be able to prove I will ever die until I'm dead, and then I won't care. So cool. So the willow's great. We got 4 kinds of willow, and all these ones are very interesting because there's less of them.
Yeah.
And so the other ones we've got are, you told me this, you've got hardy kiwi. Hardy kiwi is not the fuzzy kiwi you buy in the store, which I already have some of because I bought them in the store and I germinated the seeds and it actually worked. Like out of 1 kiwi I got like 3 plants, so it's not like a lot of kiwis. But this is hardy kiwi,
But they're
which means
kind
it's
of
more
crazy and very easy to take cuttings. Once you get one
Really?
going, the kiwi you have is easy.
Oh, really?
Yeah?
I don't know. I haven't done it yet.
Oh.
I mean,
yeah.
they're not that big. They're right over there.
Oh,
That's one right there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's the same. You
Okay.
can take a cutting from that and start another one.
great.
Right.
So once I get a kiwi, and this is true of all the plants I get here, once we got it, we can make lots more. That's why cuttings are so cool. You can cut off my arm and make new brands. That's not true. Don't do it, please. I need my arm. You've got grapes in here, right?
Yes.
Grapes are cool, and you've got 3 kinds of grapes. They're called Golden Muscat, which makes good raisins and it has tiny seeds you can eat. Interlaken, Himrod. That's 3 kinds of grapes, and these are all good for eating.
And only the first one has seeds there.
The other one don't have seeds?
Yeah, no seeds in the Himrod or Interlaken. Seedless.
Is it seedless because it's been bred to not have seeds, so we're only making clones from it?
I believe so, but I can't say that for sure.
Or was it grafted?
Um,
Because grafted things sometimes don't have seeds.
I don't know.
Okay, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Somebody watching this does, you can comment.
Or somebody that I know does. That, yeah.
Well, they can comment too.
Yeah.
The cool thing is that I grew up with grapes. There was Grape Arbor. I loved it when I was a kid. I would just go out there and snack on healthy candy, basically. Grapes are like candy. These are not wine grapes, right?
No, they're all eating grapes.
But we could make wine. We can ferment anything with sugar.
You can ferment. Clearly, you can ferment anything.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a compliment. I take that as a compliment. I will ferment something, and we'll eat them. And then what else we got here? We got the kiwis, the grapes, and you got something else in here. Figs.
Right. So I am at the place where I'm starting to pull these out.
Okay.
Or we're going to lose track of them.
Okay.
So this is one kind of, oh, maybe I lied. Nope, I can get it. One kind of fig, and it is the Desert King. And we don't want them in the sun, so the table's in the sun.
Okay.
If you can start laying them out
Oh yeah,
over there.
yeah. I'll start taking care of organizing these. I do agree with you that we should be scientific. We should be organized. It's not my strong suit, but I'm in favor of it.
Great.
And wait, is this the same as this?
Yes.
Okay.
I promise.
Okay. This is Desert King fig.
Yes.
Desert King fig. Now, I already have fig trees. I have fig trees I made from cuttings, and fig trees are really easy to make from cuttings, but I don't know what kind of fig it is. And somebody came here and they said, this fig isn't as good as other figs. Well, now I'm going to have more figs, and so I'll get cooler figs. Thank you. By
Very
the way.
cool figs, actually.
This is great.
Yes, I like those figs.
All right, I got it. Desert King.
Himrod grape.
Himrod grape. Himrod. I've never even heard of these things.
They're really tasty. And this is a Latarella fig. I'm not familiar with this one.
Latarella.
Latarella.
Okay, Latarella fig. Now, when we plant cuttings, it matters which way is up, right?
Yes.
So how are you going to know which side's up?
Yeah, good question. So when I've cut them, the top is flat and the bottom is angled.
I've heard this before, and I've done that before. Now, the reason for that, can you hand me one of those? The top is flat because we don't want it to evaporate a lot. On some plants that are really hard to do with cuttings, which I think these are mostly all pretty easy, we'll actually top it with a wax so it doesn't dry off. The bottom is angled so that more water can soak up into it. And we might actually, before we put these in as cuttings, kind of freshen up the cutting. So this is kind of old right now because it was made into a basket. That's your fault. And we'll cut this, and then more water will come up inside of it. That's the theory. And I'm not supposed to figure out what this is. What is it?
Well, I'm not finding
It's probably bills.
No, they're grapes.
Oh, these are
Bill
grapes.
is a fig.
I'm on the wrong page.
So this is a golden muscat.
Golden Muscat
But
grapes.
I don't see my, yeah. I don't see my, yeah, we'll put it right there. Because it's a, oh, no. I'll have to make a new thing for it. I lost my thing.
That's okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Mwah.
So this is brown turkey.
Brown turkey?
Brown turkey fig.
Brown turkey fig. Okay. Brown turkey fig.
This is Interlaken grape.
Interlaken grape. Great. And what we did is we wrote the names on little sticks here. Now, these sticks only have to last until June because we're probably going to put these in buckets and then we'll divide them later as they grow. Some of them might die. I only need one of these to live to get this plant here growing better. These plants were collected in various places, and so this is an experiment in plant collection.
Bill's fig?
Bill's fig.
The golden, there's golden willow and golden muscat grape. That's a golden muscat
Golden muscat grape.
This is the golden willow.
Okay, perfecto. Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of willow. That's great. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, and the potential, you know, for play, or we could do something to start an arbor, start a fence, like
Great.
whatever.
Because part of the idea here is some of these plants we can use for tree sculpting.
Yes.
Which is a whole other video. Tree sculpting is very exciting. I'm interested in things like sculpting oak, you know, thick, strong oak. But the willow would be fast growing.
I have played a lot with the willow for arbors and chairs and like you can do a lot.
Yeah,
and it grafts without any. Often you have to scrape the bark on a plant to get it to graft together and wrap it together. You don't have to do that with willow.
You just stick it together.
If it's next to each other and it's growing, it'll graft. Is my experience with the European basket willow.
Okay.
So I'm back to the other technique of randing.
Cool.
Or whaling, actually.
Randing and whaling? What's that?
So the bottom part and the top part was randing, and was whaling, and the inside that I did where there was 16 coming out at once, that's called randing. So there's
Randing
different
and whaling.
names for different weaves. It's just how many you're going in front or behind, or how many you're weaving at a time, or
Huh. That's terms I've never even heard.
Yes, and I will need to learn them in Spanish now.
Yep. Well, people around here do weave baskets and things, and cloth as well. But around here they do the pine needles, and they also do two types of lake reeds, which are tule and chuspata. And I think one of them might be cattails, and the other might be something else, and that's in my notes.
I've heard of cattail weaving.
Right, so I'm thrilled that they already do basket weaving around here, and what I can do is introduce new skills with experts to come and visit, because when people come to the Bosque, I love it when they have skills I don't know anything about, and they can teach locals, or me, or we can make videos in English and Spanish. What's that?
So our conversation about the clipping,
yes.
These are opposite because of how they were made in the basket. So this is the top. So I'm going to put them in a different place than the other golden so we can recut and keep track, right?
Okay. So wait, what is that?
Golden willow.
This is golden willow. And what you're saying is that normally we cut them flat on top and diagonal on the bottom, but this was an exception for some reason.
Because of where they were in the basket, they automatically get clipped at the top at an angle just because of how it's made.
Okay.
Right?
So golden willow is reverse. And I'm glad we're making a video on this because I'm going to forget that.
Not all of it is reversed, just some of it. So I'm going to recut it right after the video.
Okay. And then we can also look at the nodes. Like this is up, right? That's up.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay. So I can also just look at it and I can tell on this plant, not all plants,
right?
But in this plant, I can tell that this is upness. So that's cool. Let's put these somewhere over there.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
And then this is the Arctic. Uno, dos, tres. Yeah. Okay, and the sun is gone, so they come right here, okay?
Yep, great.
Off. Yeah, this is all Polish, so that was pretty much the best.
Great. Well, that's an excellent video. I think we're almost done here. Let's see if we have anything else to explore.
Okay.
And of course, we're doing this to share these ideas with you so that you in your own life can go out there and see what plants are available around you. And instead of destroying everything green in the world, you can be part of making a greener world by reproducing plants. Now, for you, that might just be learning from house plants. That's okay if you got an apartment, but it might be that you go out to parks or public lands and you understand the biology there and you're part of creating a greener world. It might be that you see an abandoned lot somewhere and you do a little guerrilla gardening. Not that you should do anything bad, and you should respect everybody's property rights and land. But there are people out there with land who would love to have people who have skills come out and diversify, make a biodiversity in their space. Are you going to make biodiversity in spaces? Maybe. So that should be inspiring for you, I hope. As usual, we're doing experiments. What else you got for thoughts for me in this whole process of making this basket, destroying this basket, and now we're going to make plants out of it?
Great job.
Okay.
Good idea.
Oh, but there's something else.
Yes?
They're not in the ground yet.
No, they're not.
Okay. Well, I'm going to grab something here. Now, these are baby plants, right? So what do we got next?
We have hardy kiwi.
Hardy kiwi.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Now, I have kiwi now.
Right.
This is a different kind of kiwi.
Yeah, they're very small and they have no fuzz on the skin. And so you just eat the whole thing.
You eat them like a grape,
Yes.
but the seeds are tiny, and you just
Yeah, they're even tinier than a regular. It's like they're seedless, but they're in there.
and the skin
right?
is
You
thin,
don't notice them. Thin.
not fuzzy.
No, edible. Super
That's
yummy.
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I've got different kinds of avocados here, and some of them are not the Haas avocados you're used to, and so you can eat those with the skin too. I'm very interested in growing all kinds of avocados, but I'm very interested in kiwis as well, because I think the climate's perfect for it, and the kiwis that I do have are awesome. We're only putting 4 in this bucket?
Yeah. There's
Okay.
only one kind of kiwi.
That's
so.
very cool. No problem. I hope something lives.
And these have lots of nodes on them. So
Oh.
they should, have much more rooting option.
And that's the right direction.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Well, I'm very excited about the kiwis. Now, you've been making baskets for how long?
Almost 20 years.
20 years of basket making. And
Yeah.
I saw a picture of you, and you were holding like big, cool baskets.
Yeah.
You sell those?
Yes, I do sell those.
Where are you selling?
I do the Oregon Country Fair. That's like my big basket thing. I juried in 3 crafts to the fair, and the willow baskets was the first one.
So you sold the Oregon Country Fair, which I've been to. I worked security, if you can believe that. I was volunteering. And it's a very fun festival in Oregon. It's a
juried art festival.
right.
Yeah.
So
And
you have to have good products.
yeah, exactly.
Right. And
Or they have to like it.
Right.
If it's not good.
or like you.
Right.
It's very nepotistic, actually. That's one of the things about Oregon Country Fair. That's why it's successful. There's
Potentially,
the
yeah.
Fair family.
Absolutely. And I luckily am part of that now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you sold the baskets? What else did you sell?
I sell Gaia wraps, which is a saran wrap alternative to
Gaia
get
wraps.
plastic out of the kitchen. Yeah, it's my own personal. It's my brand name for a food wrap.
Food wraps. What's a food wrap?
So it's cotton infused with beeswax, coconut oil, and a little pine resin, and you can use them to cover a bowl. You can fold them origami style into a sandwich bag and eliminate sandwich bags in your kids' lunches. You can put it over half of an avocado or half a lemon. I mean,
So if I have food,
yes,
I can wrap it in this.
yes,
And it has beeswax in it. So it's not going to get as dirty or something. It makes it be
well, the beeswax,
sanitary.
it makes it airtight, right?
Right.
So if you have food, you put saran wrap on something because you want to keep the air out.
Right.
You want to keep it fresh, or maybe you want to keep something else out, like an animal or something, right? Who knows? And so the Gaia wrap fits over a bowl, or just like you would use saran wrap.
Cool. I think we should make some of those.
I
Here.
think so too, and I brought things for that.
Well, great. Well, that'll be another video. So tune in for that. I'm thrilled. What else do you sell?
So I sell meditation pillows too. They're hand painted on top, and they're just the one that I sit
Meditation
on.
pillows.
Yeah. So I sit on a pillow, so I make the same pillow I sit on, and I do custom for people as well.
That's
If
exciting.
there's a specific design they want on it or specific colors, I can do that.
And then back to baskets. I think our plan is to make some baskets, right?
Yes.
I want to make more baskets.
Right.
I mean, you made this example basket, and that's cool. But I have English ivy.
Right.
Can we use that?
Yes, you can use that. It's actually a great plant material to start with basket making because it's more forgiving in a lot of ways. Willow, I typically don't make a green basket. I typically do the longer process of harvesting and sorting and drying and all of that. And so if I'm teaching somebody who's like, I want to learn how to make a basket, well, like 8 hours of teaching, potentially 2 days. I mean, if you're not a crafter, it's going to take you longer to make a basket, and it doesn't account for me harvesting and sorting and soaking all the willow. So
Right.
I want to test you to see what kind of student you are before I teach you how to do willow basketry. So the English ivy I can teach you all the techniques. It does not have to be dried, right? It's not an issue with that particular material.
Right.
So you can harvest it and make it. And, you know, even someone who's not very good, if it's a one-on-one, they can have a basket within 5 hours.
So every plant, you're going to decide like how you're going to use it to make a basket correctly. I got to ask you, how big a basket can we make?
The biggest basket that I've made is a bassinet. So, you know, actually that's not true. I've done a laundry basket that was pretty hefty.
What's a bassinet?
A bassinet is a baby basket.
Oh.
So it's like an oval basket that has a cover that is either fabric or, you know, willow, right? So one end is covered with willow.
It's a little jail for babies.
Yeah, it's a little, yeah.
But they need that
Bassinet.
to protect them from the world.
Right. My
Okay.
son started out in a bassinet, but it wasn't willow. It would have
Wasn't
been
willow.
cool to be willow. It was a gift, yeah.
Right.
And then I have seen, and I'm super excited to make someday, a coffin. So in England and some European countries, they actually weave, they don't have the regulations we do about putting chemicals in our bodies and making sure it's in a
Right.
coffin that's like never going to be penetrated, because people's bodies, they don't want their bodies to decompose
Right,
or
like
have a bug in it.
embalming and stuff
Right.
with all these weird chemicals.
Exactly. So the basket coffins just were super cool to me. I personally don't, I mean, I'm thinking cremation for myself, but if I was going to be buried, I want to be buried in a basket for sure.
I want to be buried probably because I like the idea of decomposing and becoming part of the forest. And
Right.
I think a basket sounds cool.
Yeah.
You know, they could like wrap me
I'll
up
make
in a
your
sheet.
coffin.
You'll make my coffin. That's an offer you don't get very often. Thank you. That's a really
You're
great
so
thing.
welcome. It'd be an honor. Let's
Well-
wait a while for that, though.
I do have some more stuff I'd like to do first,
Great.
but let's
Yeah.
do it later. That's a great project.
Yeah.
I hope this video has been inspiring for you. All right, so we're now ready with our cuttings to put them in the bucket. We're going to start with figs. They're pretty easy to do cuttings of these, right? And you've got
Yes.
what kind of figs?
I have the Latarella.
Latarella. Never heard of it. Let's put them in there. Now, because we don't want to make a ton of buckets full of things, we're going to put all the figs in one bucket, or most of them anyway. I've got Desert King figs, which it sounds exciting because Desert King sounds like it does well in dry environments.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then figs are all Mediterranean and stuff, and they're in the Bible, right? Okay, so let's put these guys over here. We're going to divide them a little bit. Now, you were asking me, what happens if we get confused, you know, about what fig was what? Like, what happens if this stick, you know, in the sun, it loses its ink? I'm not that worried about that. I want to be scientific. I want to be smart. But these are going to become trees. Maybe some of them will die, some of them will live. And when these become trees, somebody else can figure it out. And I asked you something. I asked you if figs are male and female.
They're not.
They're not.
Well,
They're
these figs,
self-pollinating.
maybe some figs are, but these figs are self-pollinating.
Self-pollinating. And that's important because if you have certain kinds of trees, you need to put male and female trees near each other or you won't get any fruit. Like if you only had male trees or only female trees and not going to be any babies and you want to eat the babies. That's what you're doing when you eat fruit. You eat the babies. So in this case, they're self-pollinating, which means that one tree can pollinate itself. And maybe it's good for genetic diversity if there's other ones near it. I don't know. That make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay.
So another piece is I tried to get, when I cut these, as many nodes as I could, knowing that there's a
Oh.
potential that it's going to be replanted. So as I'm
Right.
planting them, I'm trying to make sure there's at least 2 nodes under the ground. Not all of them have enough to leave a node above, right? Like this only has 2 nodes on it.
Yeah.
So one will go under the ground and
Right.
one will be on top.
What she just said there, I'm going to repeat it so you hear it better. You can always back up the video. But this can put out roots. We want a place
Or-
that put out leaves.
It could do either,
Right.
each one.
But this one, if it's under the ground, won't put out leaves. So we want this one to put out roots. We want this angled cut to suck up water. And then we're hoping this one puts out leaves. So we don't trust this. This is not going to
No,
do
that
anything.
does not look like a full node to me.
Right.
It could. You know, if it was willow, I would trust it.
Willow's easy to
But
represent.
willow's
So
different.
can I put this about this level?
But it goes with this one
Oh,
here.
sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is Bill's willow.
Uh-huh.
We'll put it right in there, and we're just going to hope. We
Mm-hmm.
don't need 100% success, although we've only got 4 of Bill's willow, so we need
fig.
something.
Bill's fig.
Bill's fig, sorry. to grow. So we just need some success.
Like this is another fig that just has 2.
Right. So we're hoping. But
Yeah.
I've already done figs from the one in town here, the one locally, and those went just fine. Figs are fairly easy. And so if you're thinking about making cuttings, you're going to have to decide what's your easiest target to begin with. I would recommend picking plants that are easy at first so you have success, and then you'll get more confident, and then you'll think, hey, can I reproduce that other plant or not? So that's where the fun is at. Look at this whole bucket. This bucket is full of pieces of trees. These are, I'm going to put out, well, some of them will put out roots, and then we're going to water it. We're going to make sure it's wet because the dry season is coming, very dry, and we want to keep these guys alive until June when the rains come, and then we'll divide them and put them into their own buckets, and we'll grow them until they're like this big, and then we'll put them out in the forest where they have to survive on their own. No more babysitting. These are babies, so we'll babysit. Oh, you're so cuties, babies.
So
It's good.
Another?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
You're happy with this?
Yeah,
I'm
it
very
looks
happy.
great.
Very
Yeah,
happy.
We'll water it next.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So what do we got next?
Grapes.
Grapes. I love grapes. The guys in the local towns around here go up to the United States to work with grapes, and they come
Right.
back here, and there's no grapes here. I want grapes.
And they're very knowledgeable about
Right.
grapes because they worked with them elsewhere.
Right. So I have a labor force that knows about them. So I want to go all over Mexico and collect the grapes that will grow in this climate. Now, a lot of grapes grow in drier climates than here. So right now in Baja, Mexico, the wine industry is growing. It's really awesome. But I want to get grapes right here. In this case, they're eating grapes. They're not normally used for wine, but we can see.
So this one only has 1 node on it.
This has one
I'm
node.
Super not promising, but I'm going to put it underground because that's our only hope for roots.
So it has one spot that leaves or roots could come out of. So you're going to put this maybe like right here under the
Yeah.
ground?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to put this a 1/4 inch under the ground. Is this a Nimrod or
Yeah.
Himrod?
Himrod. And we didn't trim the bottoms of these, but this trimmer
Oh.
would actually, I think, shred them. But it's actually okay for the grapes. It
Right.
just shreds the willow.
Now, when you make cuttings, you generally want a really clean cut because you don't want to crush the plant. Because if you crush it, then you're crushing the cells and they might rot. I think that's true. I think that's why you do a clean cut.
Yeah, and it pulling up nutrients is more, I think, absorbable. Yeah,
Yeah, clean cut, good.
clean cut, good. I'm going to put this one in underground
Great, do
because
it.
it also only has 1 node. It was a grape that
Yeah.
the nodes were all farther apart, so
These are long shots.
the
sometimes.
length in the basket just
So
limited.
I would predict that this would die,
Yeah,
but we're
I
going
would
to try.
too. Yep.
Yep.
And which one is that? The Himrod.
Himrod,
It'd
yeah.
be sad to lose, but
Yeah. Just got to get one.
right. And then the last one is the kiwi. So now we've got 2 nodes. That
Well,
one
now
will
once
grow.
these grow, of course, these are going to become materials to make more baskets.
Right.
Now,
Well, these will be eaten. You can make baskets out of grape. You can make baskets out of lots of things, but the use for the basket might be more decorative. Like a grape
Oh.
basket would be a more decorative basket. You wouldn't use it as a shopping basket. I can put so much weight in a willow basket.
Mm-hmm.
I have baskets that I can put like 4 full half-gallon jars in, and the weight is fine.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's heavy.
So every single plant, you're going to think, how can I make a basket with this? What kind of basket is it? And it might just be decorative. Well, I have very little interest in decorative
Right.
baskets, to be
Right.
honest.
So I wouldn't make baskets out of the grapes then. I would eat them.
Okay.
Right.
I can eat grapes.
Yes, yes. And the figs, of course, will not be basketable. I mean, unless you put them in like I did, where they're not actually woven. They're just additions that are kind of cool.
So this has been so exciting. I
Yes.
got to thank you.
Thank you.
You're just bringing all these exciting ideas to the Bosque.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Yarg.
It's been a thrill.
It will be more of a thrill later, too. Yarg.